The moment I saw that photograph, I knew my life had split in two, just like the man I thought I knew. I still remember how cold my hands felt that morning. It wasn't winter yet, but the air had that heaviness before a storm, the kind that warns you something's coming, even when you can't see it. I was sitting at our dining table, surrounded by half-folded laundry and open bills, trying to finish a school permission form for our son, Daniel. My husband, Malik, had left early for a business trip, his cologne still faint in the hallway like a ghost of him that lingered too long. The house was quiet, too quiet. Normally, I would have filled the silence with music, but that morning, something in me wanted to hear every sound. Every clock tick, every creak. Maybe because deep down, I already knew peace like that never lasts. I was looking for a file, the blue one with our insurance papers, when I found it. An envelope, tucked between old receipts, no label. Just Malik's handwriting on the corner. Private. I hesitated. I shouldn't have opened it. I told myself that. But something about the way the P slanted, rushed, almost nervous, made my stomach twist. So I tore it open. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. At first, they looked like old work event pictures. Malik standing in a crowd, his polite smile, his usual black suit. But then, there she was, a woman. My height, my complexion. Wearing the same gold chain Malik had given me on our 5th anniversary. She was standing beside him, holding his arm like it belonged there. They looked happy. Domestic, almost. The kind of happiness you capture when you believe the camera loves you. There were children, too. 2. A boy and a girl. My throat closed when I saw the boy. He had Malik's dimples. The same ones my Daniel had. My hands trembled so hard the photos slipped onto the floor, scattering like fallen leaves. I just stared at them, unable to breathe, unable to even blink. Because what I was seeing wasn't just infidelity, it was another life. Another me. That was the moment everything, my home, my marriage, my name, started to feel like someone else's story. I wish I could tell you I screamed. That I packed my things, took the kids, and walked out. But I didn't. I just sat there, staring at the photos until the edges curled from my grip. Then, slowly, I gathered them, put them back in the envelope, and hid it in my desk drawer. Because my first thought wasn't revenge. It was Daniel. And Sophie. What would I tell them? How do you explain to your children that their father might be living another life, loving another woman, raising another family? That night Malik called. His voice was calm, soft, affectionate, the way it always was when he was away. "How are my babies?" he asked. "They're fine," I said. "When are you coming home?" "Sunday morning, early. I miss you." He said it so easily. "I miss you." The same words he probably said to her. I hung up and went to the kids' room. Daniel was snoring softly, one leg kicked out of the blanket. Sophie had her thumb in her mouth, her curls sticking to her forehead. I knelt beside them, and for the first time in years I whispered a prayer I didn't even know I still believed in. God, show me what to do. Back then our life looked perfect from the outside. We lived in a neat brick house on a quiet street in Silver Oaks. I worked part-time at a dental clinic. Malik ran his own logistics company. He was the kind of man everyone admired, charming, responsible, always showing up at school events with a bouquet for me and a story for the teachers. People called us the stable couple. But maybe stability is just the absence of truth. Our mornings were predictable. Cereal, toast, Malik reading news on his phone, me packing lunchboxes. I used to love that rhythm, that quiet routine. It made me feel safe. Now, every movement felt rehearsed, like a play I'd already seen too many times. When Sunday came and he returned, I studied him differently. The way his eyes avoided mine for just a second too long. The faint perfume on his jacket, not mine. The tiredness that didn't look like travel fatigue. And then his phone. He never used to keep it face down on the table. Now it always was. That week, I went through the motions like nothing had changed. I smiled, cooked dinner, even laughed at his jokes. But inside, I was listening, not to his words, but to what wasn't being said. One evening, while folding laundry, I asked, "So, how's business?" He paused just a bit before answering. "Busy, but it's good." "Why?" I shrugged. "Just asking." He smiled, kissed my forehead, and went upstairs. But that pause, that single beat, said everything. It's strange, isn't it? How love doesn't die with betrayal. It lingers like an echo. You keep searching for the person they were before they lied, but they're gone, replaced by someone who still wears their face. So, I started watching. Quietly. Not like a detective, more like a woman trying to see her own reflection clearly for the first time. One night, while Malik was showering, I took his phone. My hands shook so bad I could barely type his passcode. I'd seen him enter it countless times. 0823, Daniel's birthday. But it didn't work. He'd changed it. I stood there in the dark hallway, the sound of water running in the background, and realized something. This man didn't even trust me enough to leave a door unlocked. The phone slipped from my hand onto the carpet. I didn't cry, not yet. Because tears felt useless against someone who'd already rewritten your life without you. The next morning, Malik left early again. He kissed me on the cheek, told me to take it easy today. And as I watched him drive away, I felt the strangest calm settle inside me, the kind that comes when you've stopped hoping for the truth to fix anything. I wasn't going to confront him, not yet. I was going to learn, quietly. Because if he could build a secret life, I could build a quiet strength. And maybe, just maybe, I could protect my children from becoming the collateral damage of his lies. In the days that followed that dinner, the air in our home shifted, lighter somehow, though nothing had yet been resolved. It's strange how the truth, even when painful, can make the space around you breathe again. Malik didn't come home after that night. He stayed somewhere else. I didn't ask where. Part of me knew. The other part no longer cared. At first I thought he would try to fix things quietly, maybe talk his way back into our lives, the way he'd always done. But he didn't realize something. Once you expose a lie, it doesn't just disappear. It grows legs. It walks into the world, and this one did. It started small. A call from Malik's business partner, asking why there were 2 company addresses listed under 2 different names. Then a message from one of his employees, saying they were being questioned by clients about conflicting tax reports. Malik's secret life wasn't just emotional, it was financial. 2 households meant 2 expense trails, and soon the numbers stopped adding up. Then came the public part. One morning, I dropped Sophie off at school and found 2 of the other mothers whispering near the gate. When they saw me, they fell silent. Their smiles were polite, too polite. Later that evening, Amira called. Layla. Someone posted about Malik online. A client. They're saying he's a con man. I opened my phone and saw it, a post on a local community forum. Beware of Malik, aka Malik Hartman. He's been living a double life and scamming clients under 2 business names. It had pictures. Both of us, both families. My chest tightened. I didn't share it, didn't comment. I just stared at it until the words blurred. By the next morning, everyone knew. His company collapsed within a week. Nadia filed for annulment. And Malik, the man who once walked through every room like he owned the air, stopped answering calls altogether. The kids noticed his absence, of course. Daniel asked one night, "Mommy, why isn't Daddy coming home?" I knelt beside him, brushing his hair back. "Daddy made some mistakes, sweetheart. But he loves you." "Did he make you sad?" he whispered. I hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, but sometimes grown-ups make choices they don't understand." He looked down, thoughtful in that way only a 7-year-old can be. Then he said, "You're still my home, Mommy." And just like that, my heart cracked and healed in the same breath. I won't lie, it wasn't easy after that. The whispers followed me at church, at work, at the grocery store. People always act like they pity you when really, they're just curious about how much you'll break. But I didn't break. I folded my pain neatly, like a letter I'd already read too many times, and tucked it away. Instead, I focused on rebuilding. I took more shifts at the clinic. I joined a support group for women who'd gone through infidelity and deception. And for the first time in years, I started journaling again. Not about Malik, but about me. What I liked. What I feared. What I still hoped for. And slowly, my days began to feel like mine again. 3 months later, Malik showed up. It was a gray afternoon. The kids were at school. I was in the kitchen when the knock came. When I opened the door, he stood there, thinner, older somehow. The arrogance in his eyes had been replaced by something smaller, quieter. "Can I come in?" he asked. I hesitated, then nodded. He sat at the table, looking around like he didn't recognize the house anymore. "You redecorated." "I did," I said simply. Things needed to change. He rubbed his palms together. "I wanted to apologize." "For what?" I asked softly. "For everything. For lying. For hurting you. For destroying what we had." I studied him. The man I once thought I couldn't live without. "Do you regret it?" He looked up. Every day, but his voice was hollow. Not because he didn't mean it, but because regret can't resurrect trust once it's buried. "I lost everything," he said, almost to himself. "My business, my reputation, Nadia. The kids barely talk to me." "You built that loss," I said quietly. "Brick by brick." He nodded, eyes glistening. "I know." We sat there in silence for a while. Then I said, "Malik, I'm not angry anymore. I just don't want to live in your shadow." He swallowed hard. "I never meant to destroy you." "You didn't," I said. "You just revealed me to myself." When he left that day, I didn't cry. I closed the door, leaned against it, and let out a breath that felt like the end of something sacred and the beginning of something real. From then on, I stopped waiting for closure from him. I started building my own. I repainted the walls, sold his old car, and started saving for a new house, one by the sea, where the kids could run barefoot and I could wake up without remembering betrayal as the first thing that happened to me. A few months later, Nadia called. She'd started her own real estate firm and she sounded stronger, free. "I wanted to thank you," she said. "For what?" "For not letting him turn us into enemies. I think we both won something out of this." And she was right. We both found freedom, hers in leaving, mine in staying just long enough to rise with dignity. One evening, as I tucked the kids into bed, Daniel asked, "Mommy, do you still love Daddy?" I thought for a moment, then smiled softly. Love doesn't always mean staying, sweetheart. Sometimes it means wishing someone well from far away. He nodded slowly, like he understood more than his age should allow. Later that night, after they fell asleep, I stepped outside. The air smelled like jasmine and wet soil. I looked up at the stars, steady, distant, unbroken, and whispered, "I stayed for the kids, but I left for me." And for the first time in a long time, that felt enough. It's been 3 years now. 3 years since that day I opened the folder and found a life that wasn't mine staring back at me. Sometimes I still remember how my hands shook when I saw those photos. The ring on his finger, identical to mine. The smiles too familiar. But time has a way of softening the sharp edges of pain, not erasing them, but dulling their sting. I don't think healing is about forgetting. I think it's about remembering without bleeding. Life looks different now. We live in a smaller house by the sea, the one I used to dream about when the nights were too heavy. The walls are painted in soft cream, the curtains light enough to let in the morning sun. There's laughter here again. Real laughter. The kind that rises from peace, not pretense. Daniel's 9 now. He loves drawing ships and waves. Sophie's 7. She sings everywhere she goes, even in her sleep sometimes. When I watch them, I feel something sacred. The quiet reward of choosing strength over bitterness. I see Malik sometimes. He visits the kids on weekends, brings them ice cream or takes them to the park. He's changed, or maybe life changed him. The scandal stripped him of the man he used to be. There's humility in his eyes now, a silence where pride once lived. I don't hate him. I used to think forgiveness was a gift you give to the person who wronged you. But really, it's a gift you give to yourself. It's what allows you to live without flinching every time their name is mentioned. The day I forgave him wasn't dramatic. There was no big speech, no tears. It was quiet. I was folding laundry and I realized. I didn't feel angry anymore, just done. Sometimes people ask me, "Layla, why didn't you leave sooner?" And I tell them, because leaving isn't always a single step. Sometimes it's a slow, steady walk toward your own strength. You don't always run from the fire. Sometimes you walk through it, because what's on the other side is worth the burn. I stayed for my children, to protect their hearts until I could teach them how to stand tall on their own. I stayed until silence became my weapon, and dignity my shield. And when it was time, I left, not in anger, but in peace. A few weeks ago, I found that old folder again while cleaning. For a second, I froze, part of me afraid to open it. But I did. The pictures were the same. His smile, hers, the kids they had. But I didn't cry this time. I didn't even tremble. I just smiled faintly and thought, that was once my pain. Now it's just my past. Then I tore the photos into small pieces, walked to the edge of the water, and let them drift into the sea. Each wave that carried a piece away felt like a chapter closing. There's something beautiful about choosing to heal when no one apologizes enough, about deciding that your story won't end in bitterness. I used to think revenge meant watching him fall. But now I understand. Revenge is living fully while he wonders how you ever found peace without him. Last month, I started a small counseling group at the community center for women who've lived through betrayal, lies, or emotional abuse. We sit in a circle, drink tea, and share stories. No judgment, no pity, just understanding. When they ask me how I survived, I tell them, "You don't survive by forgetting who hurt you. You survive by remembering who you are." That's the real secret. One night, as the tide rolled in and the kids were asleep, I sat on the porch listening to the soft hum of the waves, and I realized something. If that folder hadn't fallen open that day, if I hadn't seen those photos, I would still be living in the illusion of love, calling it loyalty when it was really fear. It took betrayal to teach me honesty. It took heartbreak to teach me peace. Now, when I wake up, I make my coffee slow. I watch the sunrise without rushing to get dressed for someone else's expectations. My mornings are mine. My peace is mine. And when the kids run into my arms laughing, I know I made the right choice. Not the easy one, but the right one, because staying once was about survival. Leaving was about freedom, and forgiving was about reclaiming me. Moral reflection. Audience closing. When people hear my story, they often ask, "Would you do it all over again? Stay, protect, forgive?" And I tell them, yes, because I found myself in the ashes of what broke me. Sometimes, love doesn't end with a grand farewell. It ends quietly, with a woman choosing herself. So if you're listening to this and you're standing where I once stood, torn between holding on and letting go, remember this. You don't have to destroy someone to rise above them. You just have to stop letting them define your peace. I stayed for my children, but I healed for myself. And now, I live for joy. Would you have done what I did? Tell me in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like mine. Because sometimes it's not revenge that sets us free. It's forgiveness.